Hi, this is Leah Myers, Myers Design Studio, and today we're going to talk about how you would choose a design to quilt on your quilt. And the thing is, when you're working on a quilt, you might just get stumped on what designs you would choose for a particular block. Well, today I want to help you with that and show you the techniques that I use, and it might help you quilt to quilt. So let's get started. Okay, let's start off with the simplest one. Whenever I have a multicolored all over design, I usually pick an all over pattern. And I take my tracing paper. I do this at first. And I look, you can see through the papers very clearly the blocks. So let me just tear off the sheet here. I can do it cleanly. Yep, here we go. All right, so, and because it curls, I like to just kind of face it down, and I will sometimes, I'll pin it just to make sure. And I do this first because I want to also practice my continuous quilting techniques. So I just take this, and my very first one is that meandering. If I like the meander stitch. So, and I will, in my meandering, I will do swirls. I will like do hearts, you know, and I just meander all the way around. And I also, if it's a throw quilt, I may not put a label. I will also sign my name in it. And then I look, is this nice? Well, this is kind of messy, but you know, we can clean this up a little bit. So you could do a small meander, you know, smaller, and then it just depends on what you want to do. And as you notice, when I get to the seams, my lines kind of go towards that direction. So you want to kind of, I'm pressing hard, and I normally don't press this hard because I'm trying to make sure that it's showing up on camera. And so that's one way. If you have a multicolored design, I pretty much do an all over design. It could be a series of swirls. Oops, that's not very good. Swirls. See, it keeps hitting the seams. It's okay. You know, anything, just an all over design. That's what I do when it's like this. And if you kind of use, for this background, I would probably use a butter yellow. It will show up on the black. It will show a butter yellow color. It'll show up on the black in these places, but it will disappear in the orange. So I kind of choose which color is dominant, and then I go with that. If this were all kind of in the blue tone, I would probably use a pale blue, or I would use like a pea green, like this pea green color. It's really crazy looking. It will look like gold because it's only one little thread going all around here. And you know, the weirder the color of the thread, the better. That's what I find. So let's switch this up. Let's go to a different section. This is a good quilt to practice this on because most people get stuck. Let's change to a star block. Let's find a star block in this. How would I quilt this star block? Well, let's look at what's happening around this star block. Let me smooth it out as best I can. Okay, so here's a star block, right? And this is a really, really common block. Let me get a brand new sheet of my yellow tracing paper. And I can see, yep. And you can get a roll of this paper really cheaply. And I've used this for several years. I've never I've never replaced it. It's been the same one for many years. So if you want an economical way of getting some, materials to get your quilting done, design. So in this block, it's interesting. And these are half square triangles here, making the star. And I like this block. So there are a couple of designs I would try. Let's do this on the corner so I can show you. Sometimes on blocks like this, I start out on the inside out, and I like to do like arcs that form sort of like petals. Okay, see if I can get that drawn. There we go. So that would be pretty. And sometimes inside the petals, I will do a little design like this, or even go all the way up. So that's one way. And to accentuate the arc, I might go around it a little. Oops. But I have to be able to always leave. So as you're quilting, you can't just lift up your pencil like you can here. So I like to kind of keep that line going. And I like organic shapes. So when I start from here, I might go back down. You just start playing. Is this going to look good? And so I can sew that in one line. And then down here, I'm here. And I can go back up and, sew that in one line. So that's one option for the center. And after I'm done with all four of these, all four of these having the shape, I could come out after I'm done, and I could just continue that shape. Oops, I have to sketch this kind of hard, so imagine that you're just sewing along. And you can just continue. And now this can be a leaf, right? Where that's the flower, inside the flower petal. And do the same thing. Sometimes when I do leaves, I'll do a line like this, and then I will go on either side, down, sew either side, like that. So there's a lot of different ways. So if I want to make this sort of a flower and then have leaves, I could do that. But you can approach it a different way. So say you just want to make this a little bit more simple and not so motif. You can attack. You can try just using the units by themselves, like break it down. Break down this unit, because it's a triangle right here. I'll just sketch out the triangle like this, okay? And just do little, similar to this one, but smaller, because if you're using a smaller machine, just go in and, make little points, little stars like, leaf shapes, and do like three. I like to do threes in threes. Sorry, that's not very straight there. But anyway, you can break it down into big shape or smaller shapes. And then if you're using a contrasting thread, that will really show up. And in this section, you could probably just, you can either do a small micro meandering one, kind of varying your shape. That way, this is the focus, and this is what they call shadow, I guess. I don't do a lot of micro quilting because, micro quilting is extremely small, because I do a lot of bed quilts, and micro quilting is really stiff. So if you still just doing the small units, you can sort of work, let me think. In in lines. You can think of lines. So you can either do all the lines of the block itself, which I don't usually trace out the blocks unless I'm using that line to go to another place in the quilt, you know. So you could just do a straight line all the way out, making it a radiant line, radiate out, and then using this whole block as a design, as the design itself. So all the way out, and then let me think. So what would be neat? You could do all the way out, and then you could do an arc all the way down, like this. And then so on, and then go back in the center, back in the center. And I'm going to cross over this, sorry. And then that way, you know, you're creating a different, and you do the arc. And so mark a place kind of in the center here, and then go out. This is when you're drawing it, not when you're sewing it. You can mark little reference points with a fabric marker or a pencil. So, and that way you're making this block look a lot different. And I would also sew the sides like this. So, what my point is, and the exercise is for this video is that before you try a pattern out on your block, get some tracing paper, because underneath this is clean. I haven't marked on here. Get some tracing paper, pick a couple of designs, maybe some designs that you haven't tried, and test it out. Does this look good? And you can see right through this. You can get white tracing paper too. I have the yellow because I have a whole roll of it and I'm going to use it. Just try out that pattern. You don't necessarily have to use these designs that I showed you, but this is just an example. That way, you don't have to just go right to the sewing machine and just go for it. You could kind of look at it and say, do I like that, or will something else work? Right? It's up to you, but just get that yellow tracing paper, and this is a graphite pencil, and it's got a real, it's not a sharp point. So anyway, that's my tip for you, is just get the yellow paper out and start working on your quilts. Well, and there's another example. This is a big quilt. It's all Kaffe fabrics, and they're very, very bright. And what I did with this one is that I did a large meandering stitch, really, really large, because it's a throw size, and it's meant to be like used a lot. So the wider the quilting, well, you have to go with the manufacturer recommendations for the batting, but I think it's like every 3 inches or every 2 inches you have to have quilting. And I just did a huge meandering stitch all over the quilt. And as if you could see in that camera right over there, you can't see that quilting that well because that's not the focus of it. And it's so bright that quilting isn't going to show up anyway. So doing all those special designs and all of those, flowers or swirls or hearts, whatever, it won't show up very well. So for things like this, it's easy for me and the quickest quilt to do is just a huge meandering stitch. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe. I enjoy your comments too. Please comment if you like. And I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.